We're into the waning moon. The moon is getting smaller, and this morning we spoke about what that implies, and we spoke about the goddess Kali as well. So I'm going to speak to you just a little bit more about Kali. You've got more in your manual as well, but I kind of, I think the thing with these goddesses, I've given you information and I've written all this stuff and put it into your manual, but I really kind of advise you, instead of, when I've gone into finding out about the goddesses, it's very much a personal thing and what resonates with you, and so it's not so subjective. It's like you get what you need from each one at that moment in time. At some point in your life, they'll be like, well, that's just a heap of rubbish, and then you'll go, oh, right, I get it now, so kind of if you find that one really is resonating with you, look into it and find out for yourself, because you'll be led to where you need to be. I'm just kind of giving you like the kind of the basics, are also where I'm coming from a little bit with these things. Okay, don't do that to my leggings. Okay, so Kali she's sometimes known, she's another aspect of Shakti. Okay, so she's also known as Maha Kali, and she's the aspect of our Shakti that embodies the fire of transformation. So she's the wild mother, the wild woman, the primal animal part of our nature that we too often have denied, especially in this patriarchal society. It's almost like we're not allowed to be too much Kali. So our societal conditioning has domesticated and educated us, and we have lost touch with Kali. So men have been feeding her. She's the aspect of the feminine that is wild and untamable. So she's the current of liberation that can travel through our bodies and chakras, purifying and clearing all the stuckness, all the numbness trapped in our body, if we have the courage to feel and let her flow through us fully. So Kali Shakti embodies a fierce yet compassionate strength and a passionate power. And she represents our inner warrior, our warrioress, our courageous inner mystic. She's the aspect which manifests as the power of transformation by shaking up what has been stagnant and calling us to wake up from our slumber and from our denial, and to summon the courage to face ourselves just as we are. Kali is our inner wild woman, the force in us that draws the line and sets boundaries. She's the wild power of the feminine that will not be tamed, domesticated, or shut down. Kali Shakti gives us the strength to say no. She gives us the power to have a breakthrough inside any part of ourselves where we deeply desire change. Kali is the dark mother and the aspect of Shakti that we call on when we desire a breakthrough. We call on her to help us dissolve what stands in the way of rising into our greatness, into the fullness of our being. So to embody her requires the deep humility of facing one's own shadow and taking responsibility for our lives. So it can be tough to face ourselves and the fact that much of what makes up our life is our own creation. Yet with the power of Kali active and embodied within us, we can trust that things can and do change and transform if we're willing to take responsibility for those darker emotions, and if we're willing to come out of denial and blame. To sit in her fire requires a deep devotion. We must adore her. We must trust her ways and allow them to have their way with all we've outgrown, which stunts our growth. I think we're currently living in Kali times, as I said, and since she's the aspect of the goddess that brings us wild courage, we can call on her to face our shadow as well as our light, and in order to deal with the planetary crisis we're facing too. So hers is the power of destruction and creation, and she inherently carries the universal laws of transformation and shows us how terror can become love and how the death of the old can be a rebirth of the new. In her, we can find the eye, the center of destruction, and the calm in the center of the eye of the storm. This is why it's so important for us to learn to dance with her extreme passion for truth, her fierce love, her cut through the bullshit honesty, and tell it like it is truth. Because she will trample on all of our illusion and delusions about ourselves and all we believe to be true. She is the power that breaks up and shakes up all that is no longer serving us in our lives. This power of Kali does not operate in a vacuum, however, because she is balanced by the Divine Mother. This means that the seeming destructive fire of Kali's fierceness is guided and informed by the utmost compassionate heart of the Divine Mother. And she's held in the supreme silence and utmost compassion. So as we embody the sacred feminine, we're opening to a force of ecstatic light that's the quintessential power of creation. The key into her door is our adoration, our devotion, and our trust. And that's why creating containers for sacred transformation is so crucial right now. So Kali offers us an opportunity to find out what it means to live naked, exposed by the light of truth. But she does so with divine love. Every shadow that is hidden or denied in the corner of her psyche comes out to be seen, to be felt, and in order to be freed and or transmuted. So the very act of feeling these shadow parts of ourselves with which our ego has been so identified and encountering them undiluted allows us to realize they're not part of our true nature. And so we can let go of the control we've wielded over them to prevent them to surface. In that allowing, we let them come up for purification. So it's interesting to note that often these parts of ourselves, which were so repressed out of judgment and fear, often hold the seeds of our unique essence. So Kali embodies the alchemical process of purification. She's intimately connected to the part of us who knows when enough is enough and who rises from within us like a wildfire, awakening us from our slumber. Kali wields the sword of truth that cuts through our denial, who brings to our awareness our addictions, our fears, our negative loops. She will not let you get away with trying to hide your shame or your pain. She gets underneath your numb chest and pushes it out until you feel that ache of your heart's deeper longing to open. She rides in the current of your breath and the current of fire that manifests as a burning desire to free yourself from the old constraints, stories, beliefs, and buried wounds. Be brave and dive in. Her presence in our life can manifest in different ways and surprise us at any moment. If you've ever found yourself moving through deep catharsis and or moments of deep epiphanies about aspects of yourself you never had integrated, you have experienced the power of Kali. I've always held her in deep awe and reverence, and after many years of fearing Kali, I've grown to adore her. Her presence in our life can manifest in different ways and surprise us at any moment. So Kali she can be consumed by rage. She can manifest as deep feelings of aloneness and loneliness. She can tap into places where you feel unlovable or not good enough or not wanted. And we can all relate to these moments as we all have them. These are moments when Kali surfaces to offer us an opportunity to heal and transmute what is buried deep in our wounded body. We always have a choice to make in such a moment. Either we surrender it up to the Divine Mother, or we continue believing the lies and old stories in our head. So this is very much relevant to our yoga practice, where we're now trying to, from some of you guys that have been practice the tantric hatha way with me, in the fact that we're transmuting some of our stuff and realizing, you know, our thoughts, our beliefs are not who we are. And, you know, the breath is the bridge to the mind, and the mind is the bridge to the soul. So it's reaching, the more we do work with our asana, which allows us to connect to our breath, the more we connect to our breath, allows us to connect to our meditation, and the more we meditate, it reaches in and touches our subconscious. So we really are operating from a conscious level mostly, and our subconscious is from what where we act from, but we're not so aware of it. So by doing our yogic practices, we reach your subconscious, which a lot of it is our social conditioning that we're not aware of, our vikalpas in a sense, which is beliefs that are holding us back, they're beliefs, but they're not actual realities. Okay, so Kali allows us to transmute our vikalpas. So the invocation to the Dark Mother, the Kali invocation, was written by Ramprasad. So that was what I read to you in Shavasana today. So Kali is a deeply devotional goddess who requires all of your passion and all of your being to come into play. So she comes through as a rhythm, as a pulse, as a vibration of love that shakes up stagnation, where she's a current of liberation. And when we surrender to her, she travels through us, like when we're dancing in ecstatic celebration, which is why dance is so vital to her worship. So at the core of it, of all, she's nothing less than pure love, and that is what she's here to reveal to us. And as we surrender to her love and allow her holy fire that burns away our cold, icy resistance to love, she reveals to us the burning fire of love at the core of our soul. She's your dark mother, nothing but pure love. Like a good mother, she wants to see you thrive and not hide from yourself and your own power. She's here to break through whatever is holding you back from your true magnificence. That means getting down and dirty with your messy self. That means owning your shit and facing your shadow, feeling it and let it be seen, all in the spirit of transformation. Once you learn to embrace the dark aspect of the mother that is Mahakali, that is your wild woman self, you will begin to learn to surrender into the chaos of life and find the stillness and the bliss and the ecstasy at the core of it all. It's almost like a tantric way of being. Our journey of transformation is an alchemical process that is deeply tied to a relationship to the Divine Mother. And all the great mystics really understand that Shakti, alchemy, and transformation are essential to the path that we must adore her and develop a deep devotional practice. So what is less commonly understood is that ecstasy is the main tool offered by the power of Kali to take us through and beyond our barriers. Ecstasy is a transformational current of creation where the body ecstatically lights up all of our vibrational patterns, lift and shift our cellular energy frequency. And this is why our pleasure and our happiness and just being who we are the fastest ways to return home to live in grace and fearlessness. So we're really, Kali is like, as much as she's been given such a bad name, I think we all need a bit of Kali in our lives. Yeah. So if that resonates with you, I'm very happy. And don't worry if she doesn't, because sometimes it might not be your thing right now. So we've spoken about Kali. Let's have a recap of the lunar cycles. This afternoon, we're going to go back and we're going to start speaking about mythology and what myths really are. And we're going to go into like the gods and the goddesses. And then we're going to do a waning moon ceremony. Okay, but we're just going to do a recap. We're going to come back to the moon now. So as you've seen throughout the course so far, the moon can have a big effect in your life. So and as you learn to work with the lunar cycles, you can begin to harness the energy of the moon. So each phase of the moon has the ability to help you in many ways. So although many people only think of a full moon in terms of rituals, each phase of the moon has its own life-changing power. So let's recap, okay? So the new moon, which we're going to do next, it's very exciting, is about setting intentions. So new moons are a time of new beginnings and to set intentions. So the reason I didn't do the new moon right at the beginning is by the time you've got into the new moon, you're going to be used to ritual. We're used to speaking about the moon. It's not going to be such a new concept. So you'll be able to come out of your head and into your heart and really be able to connect with setting these new intentions from a really powerful, connected way. So the new moon marks the start of the new lunar cycle, and it's the perfect time to kick off a new project or come up with a new idea. So I want you to look into the new moon in Virgo. If you've got the Moonology book, see what your rising sign is and see which house that new moon is going to be in for you. So if it's Virgo, what house is your rising sign in, and that's where you're going to apply these intentions to make it even more powerful. And I can assure you that it does, because I've been doing this for a while now, and it works. It really works. The more specific you can be, the more powerful it is. So new moons are a good time to draw up plans or lay the foundation of what you want to manifest in the coming 6 months. Working with the lunar cycle, you can create a plan of action that takes advantage of each phase from the new moon to the waning moon. New moon rituals are the perfect time to set intentions, initiate relationships that you can tend to for the rest of the year. Are you all right, Joe, wrestling with your dog? If you want a fresh start, doing rituals at the new moon is a great idea. Simply choose what you want to let go of and what you'd like to manifest, and the new moon will help you jumpstart your plans. The new moon phase is best used for personal growth, healing, and blessing of new projects or ventures. So then the waxing moon. This is about springing into action. We're going to be working with the waxing moon on our last day of this course. So the waxing moon occurs about a week after the new moon, and the waxing moon is the perfect time to spring into action, and it tells us to pick up the pace. It's a good time to check if your actions match your words. So if you made a promise to yourself during the new moon to start something new, like jumping into a new workout routine, the energy of the waxing moon can instill that confidence you need to move forwards. But it's not a time to be impulsive. So you should use this energy for creating well thought out and logical plans. The waxing moon is best used for attraction and manifestation. So when you want to attract to yourself, and your path can be enhanced during the phase of this moon. So the full moon, which was last week, this is seeing the results manifest. So we were really looking at the fact that you guys had signed up to the course. That was your almost like your intention. So we were like thinking about what we need to be grateful for and letting go of certain things. So it helps you to manifest results in the full moon time. So the intentions you set during the new moon come into fruition during the full moon. This is part of the reason why full moons are such an emotional time. So it's important to be patient as you set new goals, as it might take more than one lunar cycle to see results, especially for big things. So if you're not seeing the results of all your efforts, you're most likely think about why you aren't when you want to be, where you want to be, which could be frustrating. Either way, the time of the full moon is a good idea to look at the last 6 months, see how far you've come so you can celebrate your progress. So we kind of did that last week. So we're leading up to the new moon. So this is like where we're going to see the real results of our efforts. And you know, the full moon's best for banishing unwanted influences in your life, and you can release old patterns or issues. And now we're at the waning moon phase. And the waning moon phase, where we're at right now, is basically called the taking out the trash phase. So hence the Kali destruction goddess. So the waning moon is the perfect time to get rid of things and take out the trash. So this is after the full moon. It's a great time to make changes and clear the way for new things. It's used for banishing and rejecting negative emotions and bad habits. Remember that when you remove power, you want to fill the void with more positive energy. So the power of the moon. The moon can help us illuminate the forces within its powerful energy. It can also illuminate dark psychological aspects that need to be brought out into the light. As you work with the energy of the lunar cycles, you can forge a new path of awareness. The moon and its lunar cycles can illuminate a new path that can take you on an adventure into the future. As you continue working with the moon cycles, you emerge enticed, reborn, and revitalized. So the dark moon period occurs 3 days before the new moon. We're going to be doing that. The 15th of September is the dark moon period. So it's the shortest phase of the moon, and this is the time when you can't see the moon in any phase, and it's the time to give yourself a break, to rest and replenish your energy. So we're now going to speak about how to heal with the moon, because now we're trying to like look at the waning moon, where we're wanting to let go of what's not good for us, but we also need to heal as well. So our ancestors turned to the power of the moon for many things, including right timing, the right time to plant, the right time to harvest, the time to move on. So we can use this to assist us with healing as well. Okay, so let's look at the different phases of the moon and how we heal. Okay, so the new moon, which is the first part of the waxing phase, begins when you just begin to see a small sliver of the moon. So it lasts for approximately 3 days after. And the new moon supports new beginnings, and it serves as an inspiration. So this is a good time to start paying attention to health issues, or to start a new diet or exercise routine. It's a perfect time to manifest healing into your life. So the waxing moon, the moon is said to be waxing when it appears to be growing larger. So you can tell the moon is waxing when you can see the bright crescent on the right side of the moon. Remember, you can tell that it's waxing with the right side, it's waning when it's the left side. Okay, so the waxing moon supports growth and drawing things to you. So this phase can help with motivation. It can be used to draw courage and healing. And the waxing moon may also be used to increase sexual desire and for any kind of positive changes you want to manifest. So the full moon, it's a powerful phase, and the full moon, nearest the solstices and the equinoxes, are the most powerful of all. We're going to speak about equinoxes and solstices and supermoons as well. So the full moon is an excellent time for healing of any kind, especially for fertility and problems of the female reproductive system. The full moon brings optimism and hope, and it protects us. The full moon also governs intuition and brings us guidance and help when we need to make difficult decisions. So the waning moon, this is where we're at now. The waning phase occurs when the moon appears to be growing smaller, and the bright side of the moon is now on the left. The waning moon supports banishment and removal. So this is the perfect time to give up bad habits, addictions such as smoking, The waning moon is also a good time to stop other habits, such as eating junk foods that may be contributing to excess weight. The waning moon can also be used to banish diseases or ailments, and it's also a good time to cleanse the body and mind. The waning moon can help you release fears, worries, stress, and mental blocks, and can assist in reducing pain and fevers. So moving into the dark moon. So this is the least understood moon phase. The dark moon focuses on the inner, the unknown, and the mystery. The dark moon symbolizes death, but not as an end, but as a transition between old and new. This is a time of retreat, rest, and inactive healing. The dark moon is like a seed that's gone dormant in the winter. It represents the potential of new growth. It's a time of great power and healing, but not in an obvious or an apparent way. The energy of the dark moon is projected inward. The dark moon is an ideal time to let go, to have faith, and to trust. The moon is not visible at all during its dark phase. And this moon is a great time to focus on your intentions. Mindful ritual, either simple or complex, works as a form of action to help nudge your intentions along. So working with nature's lunar rhythms can give you ritual power. So connecting with the moon, and feel the energy of the moon flow in and out through you. And imagine your entire body is transparent like a window. And feel the reflected light of the moon shine into you. And feel your entire self become brighter and brighter. And share the moon's light until you feel that you and the moon are no longer separate. As you feel the moon's light and energy flow into you, let your light and energy flow back to the moon, and focus on your intention, and assume that your intentions are heard, and remember to give gratitude. A little bit like Yoga Nidra when we're setting our sankalpas, our positive affirmations. So we're going to speak about healing. We're going to also speak about what crystals are relevant to each moon cycle. So I've not written anything for this. I've written it down myself. So if you want to take notes in this, and you can, because I don't have pictures of these crystals, you might even you can write it, Google it, and get pictures of what these crystals look like. Some of you might be really have a huge understanding of crystals. It's obviously not a crystal course, so I'm not going to go deeply into crystals. I work with crystals, but I'm not a huge crystal expert. I'm aware of certain ones and I work with certain ones, but I'm just giving you, if you want to work with crystals and work in each moon phase, these are ones that really help. Okay, so let's look at the different moon phases. So the new moon, the crystal that's good that you can work with in the new moon is aquamarine. So because the new moon represents rebirth and new beginnings, and it's time for letting go of past hurt and starting afresh, so it's important to find closure from bad situations so you can learn from it. So these experiences initially seem negative, but they can teach us how to move on. So a good stone for doing so is the aquamarine stone, which is a crystal that balances emotions. So it can help prepare you for a new beginning in life without looking back. Okay? So the waxing crescent moon, you can use a rose quartz. Most people have heard of rose quartz crystals. So the waxing crescent moon is a time when you can see positive changes arriving linked to your emotions. So if you've had mixed feelings, you can rest assured that all will be clear soon. So it's a time when you can look deeper, and it's the best crystal during this phase is a rose quartz because it promotes love, passion, and harmony. It can also help to attract a romantic relationship or improve the one you're currently in. So the first quarter, so this is the half moon when it's waxing, is the carnelian. Okay, the carnelian is spelled C-A-R-N-E-L-I-A-N. So the first quarter moon urges you to take action in your life. If you've been unhappy in a situation, now is the time to change it for the better. If you need the courage to move forward or move on completely, this is a good time to do that. A crystal would help you during this time is carnelian. Carnelian brings courage and confidence and will help you fix the problems you've avoided. And then moving into the waxing gibbous moon. Remember, gibbous means it's bigger than a full moon, and if it's waxing, it's getting bigger. So for the waxing gibbous moon, it's a tiger's eye. So the waxing gibbous moon is a time when you can finally expect to see a positive outcome to your recent efforts. If you feel like you've been underestimated at work, this phase is a time when people start to notice you. Be patient and the rewards will come soon. So the ideal crystal to use during the waxing gibbous moon is the tiger's eye. This well-known crystal brings good luck and prosperity. It will stop any bad luck coming your way so you can speed ahead towards success. So moving into the full moon, and the crystal associated with the full moon is the sunstone. So the full moon is a time where many of us feel buzzed with energy. So if you've felt a lack of motivation, this is the time where you will spring back into action. And it's important to finalize projects by going over them one last minute. This is a good time to look at the different ways you can use your energy for the better. And the best crystal to use during this time would be the sunstone. This crystal will bring a joyful energy that will help in everyday life. It's also known to boost motivation, which is great for people who are working hard on their careers. So moving into the waning gibbous moon, we're looking at the crystal citrine. Okay. So the waning gibbous moon, so we've just kind of come out of the waning gibbous moon. We're in the last quarter just now. So we've just come out of the waning gibbous moon, and it's similar to the waning crescent. So it's a moon that's telling you to get rid of anything in your life that no longer has a purpose. It's not related to negative feelings or objects, however, it's more linked to the people around you. Have a look at your friendships during this time and see whether any are toxic, because friendships should be beneficial. Citrine is an excellent crystal to use at this time, and it promotes creativity and a positive outlook in life, which can feel helpful if you felt lethargic as well. So a citrine will help guide you to a better and happier path. So the last quarter moon, which is where we're at right now, so the crystal for this moment right now is clear quartz. So the last quarter moon is a great time to ask yourself what you want to achieve in your future. List your life goals and the changes you need to make to get on the right path. If you want to take up a new class to further a career, now is the best time to look and see what's out there. You might even decide to change how you look with a new style or even a new haircut. A crystal that could help the third quarter moon is clear quartz, because it can help you move towards your deepest desires in life. This will help you focus when you're learning new skills. So moving into the waning crescent moon, so we're coming into this one, the bloodstone. So the waning crescent moon encourages you to let go of any anger. Now is the time to get rid of any negativity, and it's good to throw anything out that is cluttering what could be a peaceful space in your house. Once you do this, the clutter in your mind will start to ease too. A great crystal to use with the waning crescent is the bloodstone, and this will banish negativity and increase energy. This stone will help you push through frustration and become more peaceful. As you can see, the moon can be an incredible asset to any ritual you'd like to partake in, or anything you'd like to attract in your life. But I would say that when it comes down to crystals, the crystals will be drawn to you as well. And it's also, you can work with crystals that, you know, are relevant to each chakra. I remember years ago, this was, oh my God, when I was a teenager, I remember going into a crystal shop, and I didn't used to be very assertive at all. I was very passive. I came from, not a great, a very angry background. I was brought up in a really, not a great childhood. And so I learned how, to not have boundaries, to keep I had to keep myself safe. So I brought that into relationships as well. I was a teenager too. And then I ended up breaking my neck at C6. So it's very much a fifth chakra imbalance. Is when you're not assertive, you can't speak your truth, you can't stick up for yourself. Neck issues are very much, strangely enough, even though I broke my neck at C6, I don't really have severe neck issues. But it's about learning to be able to express your needs and speak your truth and assert yourself. But I remember walking into this place, and this lady said, "Oh, you need this crystal," and it was a blue crystal, and she said, "It's for your fifth chakra. You really need to balance your fifth chakra." I was like, "All right, okay." At that point, I didn't really have an understanding of it. I'd read, before I ever practiced yoga, I read Shirley MacLaine's book. Remember back in the 80s, if you're as old as me, you'll remember Shirley MacLaine as an actress. She used to do a lot of good movies with like Jack Nicholson and stuff like that. And but in the 80s, she kind of found her way in a kind of spiritual way. But back then, it almost was like you had to hide it, or you were considered crazy or weird. And so she got a bit of a bad name for herself in Hollywood and for being weird. But it was because she was very spiritual. And I've still got this book. I'll have to rake it out and show you. But as a teenager, I used to like almost hide it. I never told anyone I was reading it. And it was Shirley MacLaine's book, and it was about the chakras and how, how she applied spirituality to her life. It was absolutely, it opened everything up to me. So I did have an understanding of the fifth chakra as a teenager because I'd read Shirley MacLaine's book. It's like now you can speak about so many things, but way back in the 80s and the early 90s, you had to keep it all hidden, or your family or your friends, or you'd be ostracized, or so anytime I spoke about that, it would be, "Oh, here's Louisa and her weird spirit, her weird hippie shit." But anyway, yeah, so when you've got these crystals, I was told that you keep it in your pocket, have it under your pillow. When you don't need it anymore, they go. And that is exactly what happens. So don't get too attached to your crystals. I do little rituals and ceremonies with specific crystals. And then I'll carry them in my handbag, and or I'll have them under my pillow, or I'll be drawn to them, and sometimes I'll be drawn to give them to someone that I feel needs it. And not that long ago, I went for lunch, and I felt drawn to give one of my rose quartz crystals to the waitress as a tip. And I thought, "Oh my God, she'll think I've lost it." But she was actually, I was like, "Excuse me, Do you, you know, are you into crystals at all? And she went, yeah, funnily enough, I am. And I says, well, you know, I don't have change because we're not allowed to carry cash, but I really feel drawn to give you one of my crystals. I said, it's actually just charged because it was just after the full moon. I charged it in the full moon, and I said, I really feel I needed to give you this. And she was really appreciative of it. But you'll find that if you're working with a crystal and you lose it, it's okay. So don't get too attached to crystals, because they'll come and go out your life. And one of my favorite crystals that was given to me when I was having my hysterectomy was actually by a girl called Autumn, who used to work with my daughter Levi. She's really into her crystals. I was actually going to ask her to do a talk for you guys about crystals, and hopefully she will. But anyway, she gave me this amazing crystal which is for healing, and I was sleeping with it when I was healing as well. It was really powerful. It disappeared, and I really loved it. And I thought, oh well, I've got to let that go. I don't know where it's gone. The other day, my daughter went, Mom, has this got anything to do with you? She said, I found it under the sofa. I think Halia must have brought it home with her. And my granddaughter loves crystals. It really resonated with her, so she'd taken it home with her. But it's back in my life now. So crystals sometimes come back to you as well. So don't worry if you're thinking, oh no, I don't have a citrine, or I don't have a bloodstone. If you don't have a crystal at all, that's okay too. It might be just a stone. It could be a stone that you've been walking along a beach. My granddaughter and I go for walks, and if we find a stone that has a good energy, we take it home with us. I've got 2 stones that I picked up out, like, I don't know if I was allowed to, but I picked up at the bottom of one of the main pyramids in Egypt, and they've got really powerful energy. So work with what feels right for you. And if crystals or stones aren't for you and it's too weird, that's okay as well. There's no judgment in the room. But I thought I'd share my crystal experience there. But we could go further, but I'm going to see if Autumn will do a talk for us. And if she doesn't, that's okay, because I've got lots of stuff to work through. We've still got Vedic astrology to work through as well. So speaking about the weirdness of things and how, like, we can get judged for some of our weirdness, or we could get burned in the stake back in the day. Let's look at the history of magic, because rituals are almost considered magic. Okay, so there's a lot of history across different cultures when it comes to magic, and people have believed in the supernatural, the deities, which are the goddesses and the gods, and the powers of magic for millennia. And these beliefs and practices have continued to the present day. Archaeological finds have even shown evidence of protective spells and ancient curses, in the discovery of evil eye talismans and warding items. White magic practitioners were also prevalent in both the Greek and Egyptian cultures, and the usage of the magic circle, as well as wands and other tools, have been prevalent throughout history. And white magic has been passed down through generations, so the white magic practices of today are not that different than the practices of our ancestors. So those who practiced white magic did so for good purposes, and they used spells and rituals to help people. So they called on benevolent deities and used spells for positive impact. White magic and spells were used to protect a person, bless a person, or to perform healing rituals, or to help people with love, luck, and money. White magic was also used along with the power of the moon, and every phase of the moon is associated with different aspects of healing and magic. White magic is used in Wicca, neo-pagan, pagan, and witchcraft rituals, and magic can be done outside of all of these practices. Anything done with positive intent can be considered spell or ritual. Many spells came from the Book of Secrets, which is said to list spells necessary for a number of purposes a witch may need throughout his or her lifetime. While some spells are simplistic and can be used by anyone, others are more complex and may require an initiated priest or priestess. Historically, the art of witchcraft was utilized to redirect energy through the use of supernatural powers. And many do not fully understand the history behind the art of rituals and spell casting. It's been widely believed that witchcraft involved the usage of supernatural powers meant to cause or inflict harm. And many believed that witches were working with the devil, which is one of the big reasons why witches were prosecuted so heavily. Since the mid-20th century, the term witchcraft has sometimes been misinterpreted to distinguish between good and bad witchcraft. Many people blame their misfortunes or bad luck on curses and other things involving people doing witchcraft magic spells against them. These unfortunate beliefs in witchcraft scared many people for centuries, leading to witch hunts and prosecution and even death. And it did not matter if the accused witch was pagan or Wiccan, as any form of witchcraft or spell casting was deemed illegal and punishable by death. So during the 1920s, covens started to organize in private and well-documented meetings. And research on spells and rituals also took place at this time. And many books were published. However, the authors were then tracked down and imprisoned for their writings. What many did not know that was that the Wiccan and pagan religions were very similar to Christianity. Wiccans believed in the Christian God along with Mother Nature. Including Mother Nature in their prayers and rituals gave them positive energy to infuse into their worlds, allowing them to channel that positive energy into other aspects of their focus. There are many misconceptions about witchcraft as well as magic spells, and one of them is the idea of sacrifice. Authentic witches of Wiccan and pagan religions would actually never sacrifice anything living for the sake of a spell. They do not believe in taking any type of life for the sake of accomplishing a particular goal. While many people falsely associate witchcraft and spell casting with evil and black magic, that is not what goes on. Most Wiccans and pagans only practice white magic, which is also very respectful of everyone, bringing no harm upon anyone or anything. So there we go. So I do practice Wicca, but I'm not going to go deep into that. You're going to think I'm even weirder. But yeah, it's about, you never ever use anything for bad, because everything comes back to you threefold. Anything you do is for the good of others, for the greater good of yourself, and as long as it harms no one. And it's about working with nature and the flow of nature. Speaking about witchcraft, if you ever go down to Edinburgh, and you go down to there's like some amazing tours you can go on where they tell you amazing stories about what happened to the witches, and there's some. It's absolutely amazing. The history there is amazing. But there was, I can't remember the date of one of the last of the where they killed a witch was actually, I think it was in Aberdeen. So if you ever get into that, but you're not here to study witchcraft, so don't worry about that. We are going to be working with rituals, so moon rituals. So you don't need to be a witch or be a pagan or a Wiccan or have any belief, but because we're working with the moon and rituals, I'm just like putting it out there. Okay, so it's for you to do with what you want, so it's not a belief system. I'm not trying to get you into any cult or anything, so don't worry, it's all fine and dandy. So it's just about what constitutes a spell or a ritual. So just as there are 3 levels of the universe, the spiritual, the material, and the consciousness that moves between, there are 3 components to a spell. So this is prayer, means, and intention, which unites the prayer with the means. So the reality is that there's no way to separate the craft of creating a spell or ritual from the idea of spirituality. So depending on your religious preference, you may choose to call upon a god or goddess, and that's what we're doing. We're working with goddesses when we're working with our rituals. You can work with a spirit or a particular deity or spiritual being. You may call upon Mother Earth or any positive force you feel aligned with. You will need to work hand in hand with some kind of higher power to cast an effective spell. So magic depends on the spiritual life force. Instead of manipulating the physical universe directly, magic uses rituals and spells. So spell, this is the moon, our full moon or our new moon, our moon rituals and practices. And this is what we're basically working with, or we're doing. So spell crafters can use many things to craft a spell, including, amongst others, prayer, manipulating physical symbols, so you can work with crystals, candles, objects, words, letters, gestures, mantras. So the central component of a spell is you. Your intention is everything. There's a reason behind every ingredient of a spell, and your will, guided by your wisdom, is what unites spirit with matter, making a spell actually work. A spell is anything you do with magical intentions, such as projecting a wish, saying beautiful words, or doing intricate rituals or specific mystical actions. A spell can be quick and simple or involve many detailed components, and all of this qualifies as a spell. The energy you pour into and devote to a spell or ritual powers the spell. And in order to understand how magic works, you must also understand life force, energy, and patterns and connections. So the universe is alive with spiritual life force, which we as yogic practitioners call prana. Nature has immense amounts of sacred power, and spirits inhabit every tree, mountain, river, cloud, stone, and star. And each of these has unique powers that can be cultivated and tapped into. Everything in nature, including inanimate objects, has life force energy. And if you spend any amount of time outside in nature, away from people, you can certainly sense this energy. There's really no separation between dead matter and living spirit. They're simply opposite elements of an unbroken connection. Life force is everywhere, even in solid objects. We just don't realize it. Where there's no life, there is no spirit. Where there's no spirit, magic is impossible. So spell casting almost always includes a prayer or invocation, an offering, or some form of intentional connection with a deity or other spiritual being. Gods and goddesses are beings, and they're so powerful, and the only difference is that they reside in the spiritual realm. And the best way to utilize them is to learn everything you can about them and then call on them by offering them a gift such as incense or a few drops of wine. So you can also write their name, offer them a symbol, or pray for them to appear in a dream. They will choose their own time and method to appear, but they will manifest in a way that's profoundly touching and meaningful for you. There's an animating current that flows like water, and it accumulates and resonates in circles of stone and mounds of earth. It rides in the tides of water, blood, saliva, and on the wind and on the breath. You may not be able to see it, but you can sense it intuitively. You can also raise, channel, or charge objects with it. And you should also be careful not to kill with it, because the energy will return to its sender. It's the bearer of life force and the vehicle that vivifies normal matter with immortal spirit. There are many names for this life force energy. The Chinese Taoists call it Qi. Hindu yogis call it prana. Sufi dervishes call it baraka. Ancient Egyptians call it ka. Roman diviners call it numen. Norse seers, it was Megan. Medieval scholars call it quintessence or fifth element. And magical philosophers in Renaissance Europe call it ether or spirit. Seeing, raising, and directing energy is what magic is about. Circles, altars, temples, standing stones, groves, wells, the top of mountains, pyramids, and steeples are just a few of the sacred structures that concentrate and focus energy. Energy is often experienced as light or fire as one of the four elements. And those who recite spells are essentially raising and directing energy. And you can direct energy through the hands or even by the use of a wand or a blade. So mantras can also be considered that sort of thing for us as well. So to cast a good spell, you must be impassioned and inflamed by your desire or need, and this will come from you. The best spellcrafters are those who deeply explore their passionate selves, as this makes the spell that much more powerful. Everything in the universe is composed of life force and energy, and nothing is static. Everything vibrates, rotates, resonates, ebbs and flows, or comes and goes. No one is a personal island. Everything is interconnected. These patterns or connections permeate our lives. So we must apply that in our magic. So this is us working with our cyclical energy. As above, so below. Every level of the cosmos shares the same fundamental principles. Planetary systems, human societies, and atomic structures all operate by similar principles of order. So if you ever start reading into sacred geometry as well, it's absolutely outrageously interesting. So many spells, amulets, and talismans work because of this basic principle. So like attracts like and opposites repel. So you can produce an effect by imitating or prevent or dispel something by opposing it with something it loathes. A perfect example of this is a simple candle spell for lovers. By inscribing two people's names in a candle, then moving the candles closer and closer together until they touch, you can induce two people together. The same thing can be done in reverse by moving the candles further away from each other. Any polarity can be reversed, so what can kill someone can also cure them, which is the case with vaccines. And let's not go there just now. So repeating a spell also increases its powers and often exponentially. Sorry, I can't. So magic places. There are certain places you can go to which will empower your magical work, because the boundaries and centers of a structure are the basis of its archetypal geometric form. They're the places where matter intersects spirit. Places that lie between inside and outside are also very powerful. So if you can cast a spell in such a place, you can alter energy your way like tipping a gyroscope. Boundaries, thresholds, and centers are magical places. There's an important secret of magic. Places like a temple, courtyard, or even a prison cell are empowering places to practice magic. The same thing applies to doorways, windowsills, chimneys, the center of a room, a courtyard, or even a central beam. These kinds of places are infused with energy and often places where energy whirls. The joints of the day, noon, and midnight are also powerful times to practice magic. Other powerful magical times include twilight, dawn, dusk, the full moon, the new moon, the half moon, this is where we're at, solstices, and the equinox. Okay, so there, we've spoken quite a lot about the moon. We spoke about Kali. We've spoken about, we've caught up on the moon. We have started to speak about more of the witchy type things. We started to speak about spells and rituals. This afternoon, we're going to go into speaking about mythology, Hindu mythology, because we've got to keep the yoga into this, and we're going to speak about the Hindu gods and goddesses. So we've got to go along that path as well. But we're going to do a drawing down the moon practice, which is interrelated to what we've been speaking about. We're going to do a waning moon meditation, and speak about more ritualistic stuff as well, and just have fun this afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording and see if anyone's got any questions.